What's up, guys? My name's Dion Baran, and I'm going to give you 3 tips for a better mix. First, I'm going to let you hear the loop, and then I'll go over it. So here's 8 bars from it. The first tip I want to give you guys is getting your levels straight. Having your levels straight is probably the most important part of mixing. So what I'm going to do is turn down the levels on everything. What we're going to want is to have our main melody playing with the metronome. In this beat, my main melody is the guitar part. You can hear this part right here. This is what my beat was built around. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the metronome in so I can kinda hear where the track stands. You never want anything louder than your metronome. It's kinda loud compared to my metronome. That's a lot better. Your metronome should always overpower everything in your beat. So once you have your lead melody in tune with your metronome, then you can kind of bring everything else in around it. So I'm just going to start rising the levels on all the other pieces to kind of get it to fit right. I'm going to start with the synth. Then I'm bringing the pad, get the ambience. And the other synth part. So now that I got a bass, I don't really need my metronome anymore. I can turn that off because I know where everything sits, most of the most important rolls. So I can just kind of go from what I'm hearing level-wise, since we already know where it sits on the metronome. Bring the bass. Now that I mixed all the instrumentation and the beat, I'm going to start focusing on the drums. I do the drums last because they're easier to get the levels right when you have all the other stuff there first. Now, a lot of people have problems with their drums because they either raise it too high, trying to get it to cut through, and it starts clipping, or they just can't get it to cut through, period. But since we lowered all the levels on the instrumentation, it should be really easy to get your drums to come through. Now, your drums should be a higher level than almost everything else because the drums are what makes a beat, you know? So I'm going to start with the snare, and I'm just going to bring that up till I find a comfortable setting. And the kick. Now the hats. I'm painting them a little bit just because I like them on the side. Now the perks. Now that's pretty much it for all the levels. It's a pretty decent setup. It's not perfect, but you can always make little adjustments So now we're going to move on to tip number 2. And that tip is high pass and low pass. This is going to be your best friend when it comes to bringing instruments together. So we're going to start on the pads. To do a high pass and a low pass, you want to bring up your EQ. I'm just going to double click right here. It'll bring this up. Now automatically they're turned off. This is your high pass. This is your low pass. I'm going to turn those on. We're going to hit analyzer and we're just going to see where the wave's at. Now you can tell right away it's hitting right around here from 300 to 4K. So we're going to just cut out everything that's not in that section because that's just taking up space. It's just wasting space for no reason. I'm going to lower this down. And this isn't really that steep, so it's kind of hard to reach this. So we're just going to make that a little bit steeper just by dragging this up. I'm going to solo this pad so you can hear what's happening. Now if I were to bring it more, like further down, it would start cutting out frequencies. And we definitely don't want to do that. I mean, it helps if you have a lot of layering going on. You just need to make room, but I kind of want to keep that sound. And that's pretty much done on the pads. Now the one thing that's been bothering me is this bass. This bass has this higher mid-range twangy sound. It's not bassy. So I'm going to open EQ and I'm going to turn on the low pass and I'm going to watch where the wave is. And this is from 500 to 5K is what's giving it that twangy sound. So what I'm going to do is just take the low pass down and just cut out all that high twang I don't want. There we go. Now it just has a really deep bassy sound that I've been wanting to have this whole time. I knew the bass had potential, but I just didn't really like that sound, and I knew I could cut it, so that's why I chose it. So let's hear what it sounds like with just these two pieces. Now right away I can tell that it lost volume when I cut it out, so I'm just going to start raising the levels a little bit more. Sounds great. So now I'm going to move on to the synth. So you can see here from 20 to about 400 there's a lot of just rumble. This doesn't even need to be here. See these little waves? So we can just cut that out right away. We'll just take that and it kind of clears up the tone. Takes all that bass out, that rumble that we didn't need. I'm also going to do a high pass to leave a little bit of room for the hi-hats as well. Just a little bit. And now I'm going to do the second part of that synth. I'm going to bring this down so I don't have to keep waiting for it to come around. And you can tell here that this also has some rumble that we don't need. So I'm going to cut that out as well. So we just cleared up a lot of free space in the instrumentation. We cleared up a lot. So now when we take all these, when we unsolo everything, let's listen to how the drums fill in the space that we cleared out. to me, the drums sound more crispy now. Like they have more frequencies in them. You can hear them clearer than before when all this stuff. Look at all this stuff we cut out. This, all this green is just stuff that was just being used for no reason. Now, I'm gonna do the guitar as well. I'm gonna do just a little bit though. I don't, because this is my main sound. I want all the frequencies from my guitar still there. Now it has bass. This isn't a bass guitar, so we're gonna cut some of that out as well. This is typical on guitars. And some of the highs. To me, that sounds amazing. It sounds way better than how we had it before when this is all cluttered up. The next thing I want to talk about, tip number 3, is reverb. Typically, reverb has its own bus. We would make an auxiliary track and put reverb on it and send reverb through that bus to different tracks. Now that's good. That's the best way to do it, especially if you don't have a really good computer. That's the best way to do it. So everything has a consistent reverb. It's the same sound, the same reverb sound. But for me, I like to use it a lot of the time to blend sounds together. So these lead synths, they kind of stick out compared to the rest of the track. They stick out. So what I want to do is I just want to go and find a reverb. And I'm just gonna, just a random, like, I don't even know which one's good. I just pick one and I mess with it. So I'm gonna go with medium spaces. I'll go to rooms. I'll just look at all the different room reverbs. I'm just gonna go with tight room. When you found the sound you want, you can adjust how much reverb is being used right here. And to me, the reverb sounds like it's just pulling the melody from out in front. It feels like it's just pulling it to the back, kind of. That's what I really wanted. Let's hear what it sounds like in the mix. And that's a little bit too much reverb in the mix, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you can add reverb to your snares or your hi-hats or your crashes or your lead melodies, whatever's really just sticking out that just sounds like it's too much. You can just tame it a little bit by putting reverb on it. So be sure to rate, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. All my links will be in the description below. Hit me up on www.dionbaran.com. Leave some video ideas and I'll see what I can do. Thanks, guys.